Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to Monday, April 19th. Hey, I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're not getting too wet this morning, man. It was a downpour coming into work this morning. And so I hope you're being safe this morning throughout the day and even into tomorrow. We're going to have this heavy bits of rain coming through. But what's the financial markets look like after a record week last week? The question is, can we continue today? And that's kind of a big unknown right now. We'll have to wait and see, as the futures right now have a little bit of red to them. So Dave and I will talk about that, some earnings, no economic news really coming out until Thursday at this point. But hang tight. We'll have that conversation and more with Dave coming up next. But before we do, remember, when I sit down with folks, most of the time, I will say 70, 80% of the time, when we look at the amount of risk they have in their current portfolio, it's a lot more than what they thought they had. The other 20 to 30% don't have as much risk as they thought they had. So the question is, do you know how much risk you have in your current portfolio? If you can't answer that question explicitly, give us a call and let's walk through our financial x-ray, 863-382-0037. Dave's up next.
9 here, 21 now, 49. Time to check in and find out what your investments are doing for you or to you on Wall Street this morning. It was not a quiet weekend after an absolutely stellar end of the week last week. Let's check it all out. On the phone, Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services. Good morning, Phillip. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. Hey, just trying to stay dry this morning. Man, it was a torrential downpour at my house trying to get out today.
Oh, yeah. And you were where you're located, you were kind of right between the two bands that came through early on. It hit the Sebring Avon Park half of the county. Then about a half an hour, 45 minutes ago, it pretty much kicked butt of the southern half of the county. And all y'all down there near 66, you kind of got the brunt of both of those bands of storms that came through.
Yeah, it was pretty much a lightning storm, thunderstorm, and the likes of that we haven't seen for a little while.
Yeah, the kind of junk we're used to seeing in the afternoon around here in the morning. It's kind of an odd feeling. I'm not used to having my headphones popping off the air all the time. Setting the table for the morning on Friday, it was just one of those barn burner days. New record for the Dow, up 165 points. New record for the S&P, up 15 points. And NASDAQ eking closer and closer to its all-time record. Boy, happy days are here again. Everybody was buying stuff like chiclets, right?
Yeah, definitely looked that way on Friday. I mean, we did hit some new records across the board. The NASDAQ didn't quite get there yet. It's trying, though, folks. It's trying. It's less than 125, 130 points away right now.
And it can get to that in one day, the way NASDAQ's capable of moving. Remember, as we've been saying, it was the index that got the brunt of the last correction, so it's got a little farther to climb. But still, obviously, investors have faith. It doesn't look after this weekend like they ought to have a lot of faith in Bitcoin. A few guys had to change underwear on Saturday, didn't they?
Well, I've talked about how volatile those cryptocurrencies can be, seeing easy 3 to 6, 7, 8% swings in a day. I guess this weekend they encountered a little bit bigger swing than that, something like a 14% decline. That'll get you to stand up and take notice.
Yeah, if this was equity markets, we'd call that a severe correction, and it did it all inside of 1 hour on Saturday night when somebody's computer said, yeah, that's enough, and they started selling like it was going out of style. I mean, 1 year ago, if you got into Bitcoin, you were probably in pretty good shape after the weekend, but if you took a flyer on Saturday morning and put a couple of $100 into Bitcoin, you probably looked at your money kind of shrinking a little by Sunday morning.
That's right. And so we've talked about how volatile that Bitcoin and those cryptocurrencies can be. And that just gives you some evidence right there.
Oh, without a doubt. Mostly the morning has a bunch of tidbit information as much as anything because the government's not really going to dump anything on us until like Wednesday. Did find a couple of things over the weekend interesting. Peloton, the maker of those high-end treadmills and exercise machines, got a little bit of a plastering in the news over the weekend for a bunch of toddlers getting stuck in the bottom of the treadmill and causing some serious damage. I have not seen a company do this in a long time. Peloton this morning basically says, no, we're not going to do a recall. There's nothing wrong with our treadmills. The customers are stupid. That takes gonads, I got to tell you.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, to sit there and say that the Consumer Public Product Safety Commission has inaccurate and misleading information based on, I didn't see the 60 Minutes thing, but you did, based on some of what they saw there, what I saw in the news the other day. Would give you some concern that maybe they should have some safety measures put in place there, but they're definitely feeling the brunt of that. They were down 3% on Friday, down another 6% this morning.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you and I were talking before we went on the air. Even if you do think that the Consumer Product Safety Commission is full of hooey, the bad press is at the point of, okay, we got to do something to look like we care, even though we're not sure there's anything we can do. And Peloton basically just stands up and says, bull crud. I don't think I've ever seen a company do that.
Well, they're riding a high. Their stock price is definitely off its high. As they branched off from their cycle to these other exercise equipment, they're feeling a little uppity.
No, evidently. Yeah, and it's just a simple fact of life that, you got to have a brain to have something in the house. I mean, we cracked jokes for years about the notion of McDonald's having to put a mark on their coffee cup saying "Caution, coffee is hot." But the idea, stick your hand underneath a treadmill. Gosh darn, what a concept! It actually is going to grab it sometimes, and yeah, you've got to be cautious sometimes. But generally, a company ends up falling all over itself, trying to do damage control more than anything. And this is the first time, at least in my memory, I can remember a company basically saying, this is all full of hooey, we're not doing anything.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be interesting to see if they don't hire another PR firm that maybe helps them out a little better.
I think they could use it. Earnings season is underway, and while there isn't a lot coming out of the government, we do have a couple of household names. One of the big ones reported before opening this morning, I gather.
We did. We had Coca-Cola come through and reported a quarterly profit of 55 cents a share. That was 5 cents ahead of expectations. Revenue also came in above Wall Street forecast, and they also have improved their operating margins from a year ago. So that's some good news coming from them, despite some of the issues that they've had throughout the pandemic and some of the most common things that have come out of Atlanta recently. They're trading up about 1% this morning.
Cool. Was there any word as to how the absolute sales were this year versus last year? One of the things you and I have talked about as to whether or not we're actually improving. I guess we need to compare it to 2 years ago to get a fair comparison at this point.
That would be true, but there's obviously nothing in the report that really outlines in detail what those numbers were, other than they beat the forecast of what Wall Street expected, which is going to be based upon quarter over quarter.
Understood. And that's good news to see them beating the street. There was a bank that's rang a bell with me, and I honest to gosh couldn't remember where I saw it, but I know it's a regional bank. How did M&T Bank do?
M&T did it really well. They made 41 cents a share more than expected at $3.41. Revenue beat forecast as well. They've seen a big improvement when it comes to residential mortgages. And their trust business has picked up also. So those two things were big in their factor to kind of do better this quarter. And they're basically flat. I mean, they're $154 stock. They're up 14 cents right now.
All righty. Other indications for the morning as we get into another big week on earnings season this week.
So the last one I have for you today, Dave, is the hog. It's that Harley Davidson coming out. They came in not quite, but almost double expectations. They came in at $1.68 a share. Expectation was 88 cents a share. So a really, really good quarter for them. I guess people took some of that stimulus money and maybe went out and bought a hog with it. So revenue was basically in line with forecast. They did, this is probably helping them some today. They raised their full year guidance on motorcycle revenue and profits. And so they're having a pretty good morning, up almost 8% this morning.
Cool. My nephew bought a Harley this past year. He probably helped. Darn thing cost almost as much as the house he also bought, but he bought a Harley.
That's crazy, isn't it? Unreal.
They are not cheap motorcycles by any measure. Once again, update on Friday. How are we looking 45 minutes before we start throwing real money around this morning, Phillip?
Dave, it looks like maybe we've got a little profit taking occurring this morning. We've got the Dow down about 0.15%. We've got the S&P 500 down 0.2%, and we've got the NASDAQ down almost 0.5%. So everything's trading to the red, even silver and gold. Silver's down 0.6, gold's down 1/10. The only thing that's green is the one thing you and I don't like to be green right now, and that's crude oil, up about 0.25% to $63.33 a barrel.
The worst yet, I was showing it off by a little bit, meaning it's turned the corner. It is going up rapidly, so I'm really unhappy to hear that. World markets, the Asian markets were happy to see what we did on Friday. They were all evenly up, China by as much as 1.5%. Over in Europe, they're looking at our futures and saying, well, maybe it's a good day to take some profits, so they're all off very fractionally by like 0.1% or less. One of those things, we talked about Bitcoin being able to make a major turn, and none of us can really figure out why it did it over the weekend, means a person needs to look at the risk in their portfolio. Phillip, how do I find you to figure out where my risk is?
David, give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule their financial x-ray, and that will help them determine exactly how much risk they have in their current portfolio. They can also check out our website at statlerfinancial.com. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk 730.
All righty, and back here again tomorrow morning on Light FM. Phillip, thank you so much. We'll see you then, all right?
All right, man. Try to stay dry, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Go and do my best. You do the same. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Phillip Statler.
Folks, I want to say how much I appreciate you tuning in and listening, not only to this morning show, but to the weekend show too. I really do appreciate it. Hey, we're here as a service to our community. Anything financial that we can help you with, please don't hesitate. Give us a call, 863-382-0037. Have a great day. I look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Bye now.